Hello friends, welcome. I'm Candace and today I'm dyeing my hair blue. So if you watched my last video, you would have seen me bleaching my hair. In that video I explained why I have pink and green hair, and pretty much the reason is because I use some splat hair dye for dark hair. So it's the blue for dark hair from Splat. And Splat stains your hair pretty much permanently. I used 30 volume developer and this is what I was left over with, but that's okay with me because I'm just going back in with the same hair color. I just lightened the whole head this time. And the reason I'm using the dye that's meant for dark hair is because I just like the tone of it and I like the lasting power of it. As far as I could see from the package, it does stain, but it's not a damaging dye. It's still a direct dye like any other, so I just figured I'd use that. Plus with the package for dark hair, it doesn't come with bleach because I don't use the bleach from the package, and it gives you a lot more dye. So if you use the smaller container, it gives you like, I don't know, like 2 ounces or 4 ounces or something, and the bigger one is like 6 or 8 ounces or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, so for me dyeing my hair this time, I decided I wanted to do a two-tone thing. I wanted to do a shadow root, if you will. So I mixed up some of the Arctic Fox Transylvania with some of my old overtone blue for dark hair, which was a mistake because overtone doesn't last, and I realized after the fact that the dark roots I was intending was gonna fade way faster than the lengths of my hair, so don't use overtone if you want your hair to stay dark for a while. But anyway, so I mixed up this black color. I did use some of my older Splat dye in it to make it a little bit more pigmented and make it match a little bit more. I didn't want to use the straight black dye on my hair because I was just scared how it would turn out. But now, in hindsight, now I'm gonna have to go back in with more black and some more of my Splat color to re-dye the roots so that they're not lighter than the rest of my hair because they're already fading. But the blue looks good. I split my hair into 3 sections, 2 in the back, and then the whole front I kind of just do at once, sort of. Basically, I did half of the back first. I covered my entire roots with the black mixture first. I wanted to make sure the roots were really coated. I didn't want to have blonde in my roots. And then I wanted to go with a two-tone effect. So after I covered the entirety of the roots on that section, I decided that the darker color should be at the very base of my neck. Usually you want lighter on top, darker on bottom when it comes to hair, so that's why I decided to make the part that would be sticking out underneath a ponytail or whatever, I decided to make that the darker color. I just felt like it would look more dimensional to have the darker part to be on the bottom and it would give more of a shadow effect. I was doing some janky highlights. I tried to use foils earlier and it just wasn't working out for me. They were gonna fall out and I was just not having it. Pretty much I was grabbing smaller sections for the lengths of my hair where I was dyeing it black, and I grabbed bigger chunks for the blue. And there's 2 reasons for that. I wanted a lot more of the vibrant blue to stand out. I didn't want it to be half black and half blue. I wanted it to be mostly the blue color. And the second reason why I grabbed bigger chunks for the Splat color was because the Splat dye comes in one of those squeezy bottles and the dye is much more runny. So the overtone mixed with the Arctic Fox color was a lot thicker and it created a much thicker consistency dye pretty much. So it was a little bit harder to get into the hair. I had to try a little bit more. So grabbing a big section and putting that on some light blonde hair, you're bound to get some really light patches in there. So I made sure for the thicker dye, I was grabbing much thinner sections, but for the Splat dye, the blue dye, I was cool with grabbing a bigger chunk because I knew the wetter dye would be able to penetrate through the hair a lot more. I still was being very thorough, trying to make sure I was massaging it in and trying to make sure that every piece of blonde was coated. At first I was trying to use a brush. Like I said, I was trying to use the foils. The foil was just falling out And the brush, I always feel like the brush just tangles my hair, at least when I'm working on the lengths of my hair. I did use the brush when I was doing my roots, but I felt like it wasn't that necessary when doing the lengths. I knew I could massage it in and make sure I was getting every strand of hair with my fingers a lot more, and I'd be able to feel that the hair is really saturated. Once I switched to the other side of my head, I did the same thing. I decided to cover the entirety of my roots again. It gave me a really good base layer to know where to stop and start for the section, and it made it easier to do the shadow root first. That way I wouldn't have to keep going back and forth using the brush and using my hands. You can see as I'm dyeing my roots that I do the perimeter of the section first, like I said, to give me an outline of where to go, and then it's much easier to do really thin sections as I'm going down to cover the whole head. And especially for the back of your hair likes to fall down, so that's why as I did the roots I used that to flip all my hair up over to the front, and as I was dyeing the lengths, that's when I started from the bottom to let the hair lay down. A lot of people use Vaseline or something on their neck and ears and face. Personally, I don't care that much. Especially if you're using things like overtone, that stuff doesn't stain anything. If you're using overtone, don't even bother, it'll wash off your skin. At least the blue for black hair does. But when you're dyeing, it does stain your neck. It does stain pretty much everything. It'll stain your shower, but usually with direct dyes, it does wash away. I don't care if I have a blue neck. I don't personally have anywhere to go, and I personally don't care really how I look or what people think of me. If I got a little bit of splotch in my hairline and I gotta go to the store, I'm never gonna see these people again. I don't care. But anyway, if you want to protect your skin, you can. I don't like using Vaseline because then there's a thick greasy layer you gotta wash off. The only things that I've ever really put Vaseline on when dyeing my hair was my jewelry. I don't know if direct dyes could stain opals or not. Let me know if you know. Anyway, when I got to the front, I tried to do the perimeter of the back of my head first. I even got my sister and my mom to help me make sure that I got the perimeter pretty well because I couldn't see back there and my eyes were hurting. But I do the same thing. I start with the first half of my hair. I just part my hair where I normally do and start at the roots, and I dye all the roots black first. And then after that, the section right above my ear, I started with a black section, and then I did the same thing as I did on the back. I did a thinner black section, and then I did a blue section that was about double the size, and I was alternating. Now, I was a little bit lazy. I did have foils. I could have done some more traditional highlights or lowlights, but I just wanted to be done dyeing my hair. So I just did general sections. If I wanted to be a little bit more meticulous about it, I definitely would have done horizontal lines across my head instead of vertical lines that flow with my part. It definitely would have looked better to have horizontal lines going through the part, I think, instead of vertical lines, because once I was done dyeing my hair, I had this big chunk of the lighter blue color on the left side, and there was no black at the top of the hair. And then the right side had a lot of black, and then the right side of the parting has a lot more black noticeable, while the left side doesn't have any. So that's just a little thing. It doesn't really make a big difference because it'll fade in a few weeks, especially this black dye that I mixed up, which is garbage because of the overtone. I'm not really sure how well Arctic Fox lasts in the hair. It wasn't really my preferred dye of choice in the olden days when I would dye my hair all the time. I liked Special Effects, but unfortunately I don't think that brand exists anymore, so I was really sad to find that out. But so it could be the Arctic Fox that fades a little bit faster, but the mixture was mostly the overtone color, and I do know that that color fades very quickly, so I'm gonna blame the overtone for why the roots faded so quickly. I would say I do recommend the Transylvania from Arctic Box as a dark color if you want to darken up a blue shade. It really is a bluish black. It really did a good job making a dark blue color with my mixture. But I do not recommend the overtone for dark hair, the blue for dark hair. It sucks. This is just a hate video for overtone, I guess. But anyway, if you have any other dye recommendations instead of splat for a really pretty, true royal blue color, let me know down in the comments below. This is how my hair looks now. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. That would really make my day. And follow me on my Instagram at CandanceL. Also, please check out my art account at Chromatic Sauce. That's on YouTube and on Instagram. I'll leave a link for that in the description. Thank you. I love ya. See you in the next one. Bye.